out there, and welcome to the Rufus Project. Roof Presents Live. Hello. Hello, Christian.
Yay! Hey, a brand new year too. Wow.
And to celebrate, we're actually making this available to everyone, whether or not you've paid on our Patreon or not. So aren't you lucky?
So regardless, you're going to get given this. So what a great way to
Indeed.
start the year, Trevor.
Indeed. So, for anyone who is curious about how our Patreon works, you can pay any amount from the minimum, which is about is it about $3 US or $4.50 Australian in our local area. And that will give you access to everything. Live streams of our recording like this one, first access to the edited podcasts at the end, and we've got bonus features, extra stuff, extra content. I throw in talk about games, talk about movies, talk about trailers. We have semi kind of series that we really need to get back to be honest. But with Join Our Cult, we've got a free version of the Join Our Cult podcast available for you as well.
Yes.
Back in the feed a bit. So we're here to do the Redeeming Features podcast. So I think, without further ado, unless you have anything to add, Christian.
No. I don't want to give spoilers too early. Because you know what I'm like.
Fair enough. So we'll have a moment of shh, so that I got a nice clean break.
I have something to add. Sorry, I just remembered.
Oh, yes.
It's not movie related, but because Resident Evil, based on a video game, I don't really know much about Resident Evil, but I thought it was quite appropriate that today I happened to put on this shirt.
Oh.
I thought you'd all appreciate this Game Boy shirt. And I thought it's kind of Resident Evil, but please, I'm not wishing for the Tetris live action movie. There was talks of it for a while.
There was.
Yeah, anyway, so I thought that was kind of a tie-in, but yeah, very loose.
Yes, yeah. You're lucky you're in a different location, Christian, or else I'd be trying to steal that shirt right now.
I don't know where I got it, but I have not wanted to give it away. I think still people look at me when I wear it going, what's that? I remember.
That's awesome. That's what that is. Awesome. Okay. All right. So we should start a podcast. Ooh. Okay.
Whew.
Is it a heavenly follow-up, or should it be damned? We watched Resident Evil Afterlife to see if we could redeem it. Were we successful? Find out after the theme. And this is where we put in the theme, and we have the theme.
Why has that not become a chart-topping iTunes song? I have no idea, but it's probably due for a remix soon, Trevor.
Probably. It's given us a pretty good few years of service so far. So
actually, a Pet Shop Boys remix would be amazing. Just saying.
Or maybe Flight of the Conchords.
Cool. I don't have to hide the shirt anymore. Sorry, I was sitting down like, yeah, there we go.
Okay. All good. Okay, dokie. Well, that's probably enough time for the theme. Right. Hello and welcome to the Rufus Project Presents Redeeming Features podcast. This time checking out Resident Evil Afterlife from 2010. I am Trevor Holland and I am joined by my very good friend and co-host,
Christian Fletcher. Thank you so much, Trevor, and everyone who's watching, whether it's current or delayed. So.
Indeed.
Thanks for this opportunity. It's always good to get back to the studio, if that's what we can call it in these times.
And for those listening to the recorded version at the end of this, Christian was referring to the fact that Patreons get to watch a live stream of us doing this. So we, but more about that later. That's fine. That's fine.
That's a good incentive to become a Patreon subscriber.
Absolutely, you get to see us do this live. I don't know if that's an incentive or not, but we'll just assume it is. So, before we go any further, I do have to add that there will be spoilers about Resident Evil Afterlife. So, if you don't want that movie spoiled, you should definitely go watch it before you listen to this podcast. I don't know if there's much to spoil, but anyway, there will be spoilers.
I was kind of waiting for the sounds of people scurrying away. That was just going. We'll insert that later.
Okay, yeah, good old post production. Cool, cool, cool. So, with Resident Evil Afterlife, I just realized I forgot to grab a synopsis, so I'll quickly grab one now.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're a bit more organized with this than I am.
Okay, so while still out to destroy the evil Umbrella Corporation, Alice joins a group of survivors living in a prison surrounded by the infected, who also want to relocate to the mysterious but supposedly unharmed safe haven known only as Arcadia. That description made it sound like the infected wanted to relocate.
I think I was infected watching this movie. Let's digress. Yeah, that plot summary pretty much sums it up, Trevor. And yeah, it's interesting. I've written here in my notes. I went in blind to this, but I know we've watched a couple of Resident Evil movies. That shows how much of an impact they've had on me.
Yeah.
But, 2010, I thought this was a bit more of a recent one in the series, but I was mistaken.
It's number 4, Christian. We watched 3 of these. We have watched 3 of these before we got to this one.
Blocked it
out. Wow. I may make comments about that myself later. Now, what we like to do is we do like to see if these movies got any sort of recognition. So I've got the awards here that Resident Evil Afterlife was nominated for and even received. So the Directors Guild of Canada, it was nominated for its production design and sound editing. The Genie Awards, big name ones here, it was nominated for Best Achievement in Sound, Best Achievement in Art Direction and Production Design, Best Achievement in Costume Design, Best Achievement in Makeup, Best Achievement in Overall Sound, and it won a Golden Reel Award mainly for its distribution. So that's very interesting. The People's Choice Awards USA nominated it for Favorite Horror Movie, and the Scream Awards had Mila Jovovich win as Best Science Fiction Actress.
Interesting.
Not a Razzie
interesting hearing horror.
Or Insight.
I was going to say, interesting hearing horror movie brought up in one of those awards. There mustn't have been many horror movies that year, but
well, you know, it's got zombies.
Yeah, and I was really surprised. I'm probably treading on some of your trivia here, Trevor, but I was treading on trivia, Trevor, but that worked. I think it was like a $60 million movie, and it managed to make $300 million, which I was quite impressed about. But again, as you mentioned before, it's the 4th movie in a series. You've got that built-in audience that want to see the movie continue. So whether the box office is something I can give credit to, or probably just people interested, like people going and seeing the recent movie in a franchise. So
yeah, quite possibly. Well, that does go nicely to our turkey trivia, where, as you mentioned, hang on, I'll get my notes back up here.
That's all. That's the only note I have here.
Yeah, it did have a budget of $60 million. It did has made at the box office $300 million worldwide. It's rated 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb. So I guess just a little above average, according to IMDb.
Yeah, anything under 6.
Yeah, well.
I always think, just
fair enough.
Some of my favourite movies are 2. So I shouldn't say too much.
Indeed. So, but with this one, after seeing footage of James Cameron's Avatar, Paul W.S. Anderson was so sold on the idea of making a film in 3D, he had with that he and his crew spent 2 weeks in pre-production just learning how to properly use the 3D camera system.
Wow. And honestly,
Yeah.
Trevor, going in blind with this, well, blind as a single movie, I wasn't aware that it was released in 3D, and it really didn't show. So that's
There was some
interesting.
definitely. I think I'll probably mention it a bit later, but I'll just say it now. There were
Yeah, I
definitely some
didn't
shots
notice them
which were just
jarring
like,
as much as some of them, like Jaws 3 and things like that. But
yeah,
yeah, that's interesting you say that. So that would have been around that period where, yeah, 2010, where they were kind of milking the 3D for the next generation, I suppose.
yeah. It had a couple of cheesy 3D shots, let's say, but not too many. Um, Now, during the filming, Mila Jovovich, also Paul W.S. Anderson's wife, accidentally shot out a $100,000 camera.
Ooh.
Well, they did have shooting lots of things, and it wasn't 3D, so I guess she was aiming the barrel straight down that camera. So, yeah.
I wonder if that was taken out of their pay at the end. So we've deducted this.
She's the director's wife. She wouldn't have had to pay for that.
And that said, how much money the movie made, I'm sure they could cover it.
Yeah, I think they were good. I think they were good. And the last bit I've got here was Wentworth Miller jokingly admitted that he was nervous about his character, Chris Redfield, being similar to his Prison Break character. Um, but the thing is, in both cases, you meet him, he's in a prison, and his first lines in both Prison Break and this movie are, "I know a way out of here."
Oh my God. Well, I Googled, because I know Wentworth Miller from Prison Break, but I even Googled it, and Prison Break ended the year before this came out. So he was still in that, I can't remember what his character's name is, but in Prison Break, but he was still very much in that mode. But it was good seeing him in there, a familiar face, aside from
Yeah.
Miller.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of Wentworth. I'm a big fan of Legends of Tomorrow. He's very good in that series.
Yeah.
Okay, dokie. So now, as we mentioned before, this is the redeeming features where we take movies of questionable quality, performance, or just basically whatever, and try to redeem it. But to do that, we do need to set a baseline. So what I've got is a baseline review. So I jumped on the internet and I found this little doozy. The title of this review is Dire. The title is the only way to describe this movie. I enjoyed all the others to a certain extent, but gave up even pretending to watch this load of tripe half an hour in. It's a disjointed, plotless excuse to have Jovovich parading around on screen and a number of gunfights. That's what seems to be the grand point of the film. Don't even bother. 1 star.
Interesting. And look, not wanting to step too far ahead, Trevor, that reminded me of something that I haven't written down here, but I was thinking is a lot of times you've got to think with the standalone, a movie as part of a franchise or a series, is do they work as a standalone movie? So a lot of that was going through my head. So a few of the things said in that made me think also too you were feeling like you'd come halfway into a season of something. But as you said, we've watched 3 movies before, and how quickly I've erased them from my brain. But continue.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the one thing that I did because it does. I mean, it has a very stylish slow mo in the rain kind of intro thing going on
I
there with
liked
everyone
that with
walking
the
around umbrellas.
umbrellas.
Yeah. And there's one chick standing in the rain without an umbrella that nobody seems to notice until she goes and starts eating people.
I know. Well, when it started panning up the legs, I'm like, oh, is this going to be Mila Jovovich in some fancy get up doing something? But yeah, no, it wasn't. But no, yeah, it was clever, and then it did that typical going from that right into a narration and that sort of that pre-credits lead in, even though wasn't necessarily a pre-credits lead in, because we were back in 2010 when they were still having credits over the front of the first scene, which is I always find nowadays jarring to see.
Very true. But I mean that voiceover that Miller brings in, it does actually gives you a nice summary, I guess, of the story so far, pretty
Well, that
succinctly.
was
And
good for me because I'd
yeah,
forgotten so much about the other movies. So I was so thankful when she came in with that.
yeah,
And that's very
yeah,
considerate of audience members who are seeing this as a standalone movie.
yeah, yeah. So that was nice. And again, like you, there was. I could not remember much about the previous movies at all. I think there was even a bit
Yeah.
further in where they had like a black and white section of Mila thinking about what happened in the previous movies. I was watching this going, I have no recollection of this scene whatsoever. This just went in one side and out the other.
Oh, I'm glad it's not just me. Earlier, I'm like thinking about, I'm like, I just remember us reviewing one of the movies and it was just her walking around a whole heap of corridors trying to shoot things. I'm like, I think that was the previous movie. But yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
glad you feel the same way as I do, Trevor. So yeah, the narration was good, and and that's the thing going in, like you mentioned. We'll end up talking about it, but the set design, the cinematography is actually really good. Like I think it was a big thing around that time. I do remember seeing a lot of movies around this 2010s where they had the whole bullet coming out of the gun going really slowly past the
Mhm.
camera. There was a few of those,
Oh,
when glass shatters really slowly, and there was a lot of that
yeah.
stuff going on. But I've got here slow mos came up quite a lot, so I did appreciate that in terms of the cinematography type of way. And I think because in a lot of time I was just looking for a plot, so
Fair enough. Yeah, there was a lot of stylish slow motion in this, especially in that. I mean, you have the initial bit where they kind of set the scene with the big base under Tokyo, where that initial scene was set several years before the action in this movie, and then you have Mila come down and apparently die, and that's when I remembered that in the previous movie they did set up that Mila had a whole bunch of clones, and so we get to see
that's. Oh
multiple
my god, that sounds familiar, Trevor. I needed you to remind me of all this stuff
uh,
before I watched it.
which is why we have multiple
Yes.
multiple Mila Jovovics running around, um, showing the world that Paul W.S. Anderson wants to show as much as possible just how hot and athletic his wife is. Skin
And
tight
she looked
suit,
amazing.
the
Like
entire thing. Yeah.
she was gorgeous and kick-ass as always, and I almost thought she was going to maintain the ponytail, but it didn't stay. But I thought the two Milas was clever and very well done. Like how they did. Yeah, it was a clever way of doing it, and I think even I don't know if I'm going a bit later on, but when they had shots of the blood cells, when they zoom in and do all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, so they definitely got us in the first 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
With that sort of
and
stylish stuff.
we meet the big bad quite early on. Good old Wesker doing his best. Okay, I can't remember who the actor is, um, but he was definitely. You could tell that his performance was inspired by the whole Agent Smith in the Matrix. I think very much that,
Oh
very
yeah,
emotionless, going to be very
it's funny
serious.
you said that because there was so much. There was so many Matrix. I'm not a big Matrix fan or know much about it, but it was funny you say that. I got a lot of Matrix references from this, or not references, but similarities.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I think
yeah. The
anything that
stylized.
happened post Matrix, everyone would think that.
Yeah, yeah, kind of had a bit of an impact, shall we say, on movie making after that
Yeah,
first
yeah.
Matrix movie came out, and it does show a lot in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big fight, we get reminded that Mila had superpowers in the previous movies after she gets injected
Yep.
by this Wesker character who says, "Oh, it's now neutralizing the stuff in your system. You no longer have your powers." But yet she still survives a massive exploding helicopter
Yeah.
crash, which is like, okay.
All I could think in the back of my mind is, you've got to come back for the next movies. We know they're happening. But
Well,
I
this
gotta
was like the
remember in
first.
2010, we didn't know what's
Yeah,
happening.
but she got blown up in a helicopter in
But
like
there
the
was some,
first 15 minutes.
yeah. But like that's what I was saying. The first 10 or 15, they definitely did the whole lead-in thing. I was half expecting a. I know I came up earlier, but I was half expecting about that time where it just came up with a Resident Evil Afterlife title screen, but it didn't. But like the effect I mentioned the effects with the bullets and things like that. But there was some scenes like where the Hollywood sign was all burning. There was some really convincing CGI, and then there'd be certain shots of LA, and you're like, maybe not as convincing. And then the zombies start to come in, and you're like, I remember now what the other movies were about. But the zombies sort of
Yes, yes.
you wouldn't go in thinking these are zombie movies because it's really not a dominant part of the plot. Well, at least in this one.
Yeah. It does rely, I think, very much on knowledge of those previous movies or the game series, because after all, it is based on loosely on the Resident Evil
Game
series of games.
series.
Game series. Are you gonna do that every time we mention a game? um, I've lost my train of thought now, but that's fine. That was fine. That was more awesome than whatever my train of
You're
thought
right. We're up
was.
to the zombies, but now, Trevor, you'd know who is the other actress that comes in, and she's been in the other series. I know the actress. She looks a lot like Mila Jovovich, and I think we've spoken. I think I spoke about this when we did the other movies. The girl that comes in, that's the I've got here the other actress that turns up who looks so much like Mila Jovovich. That doesn't really
Indeed.
help
So
us, does it?
that's Ali Lata. She actually gets to be one of the characters named after the game series. Because you got Claire and Chris Redfield, their brother and sister from the game series. Because I think
that's the one I'm thinking of.
yeah, I think initially with the first movie, they didn't really want to bring in game characters, but they kind of gave that up after. By the time they got to the second movie, they realized that people wanted the game characters. So yeah, Ali Lata as Claire, and she gets to be nice and feral when you first meet her. When Mila lands in her apparently never running out of fuel airplane, she just flies everywhere. She's up in Alaska, then back in Los Angeles. It's like, where are you refueling? Are you refueling? Does your plane even need fuel?
Film characters through a lot of stuff.
She just keeps on flying and films herself doing little narrations as she flies, looking for this mystical place called Arcadia.
Well, there's that scene. I took note of it with that scene where she meets up with the people at wherever it is, and I was thinking it was so anti-Hollywood. Like there was one girl she met, and she said, "I wanted to be an actress, but things weren't really bad." And then the other character was like, "Well, I was rejected from Hollywood for doing this and this," and I was almost like, I get the feeling that somebody who wrote this is really anti-Hollywood, but hey, I don't know.
Quite
It
possibly.
may have just been a whim.
Yeah, but you don't. You can kind of tell that there's when she does get to this prison where Wentworth is down the bottom or locked up, a la Prison Break. You can kind of get a feeling as to who's going to make it and who's not, and who they're going to set up in a certain way. Like there was a younger Asian actor who was kind of there. It was just like they're not spending any energy on this guy; he's going to die. And they spent a bit of time trying to build rapport with the failed actress. And it's just like, but it still seemed quite light on, and sure enough, she gets to have a bit more of a dramatic death rather than just being they spend a great deal of time talking about how yeah, I suppose, yeah, they spend a great deal of time talking about how slimy and unpleasant this guy who apparently is a director is. So you're thinking, okay, he is going to get out and they're going to come across him where he's going to, apparently be the more powerful one before he meets his deserved death, which of course, you know, you can almost tell by the amount of effort they spend in the characters and how much setup they do for them, I suppose, how long they're going to last, and if the death is actually going to be anything meaningful.
And that's the thing, you sort of got to the point where you're like, yeah, you knew this was just going to be a by the numbers type thing, where it sort of started to, it came to me quite early on that this is really just a whole movie stretched out about them trying to leave this place to get back to Arcadia, etc. And again, it was one of those things where it felt like the plot was just a little plot stretched to an hour and a half. But thankfully, it was an hour and a half.
Yeah. I mean, that whole prison section, I think, was probably a bit longer than it needed to be, and kind of it was like quite actiony up to that point, and then you had Mila traveling all over the place, apparently being spied on by a satellite, because why not? And then she gets to the prison, and it's kind of just like we're in these rather not exciting rooms, but hell, there's noises in the walls and stuff like that. Like they kind of build that up, and then you also have the giant. You have the giant zombie just rock up with a giant axe for reasons. I know that's. I know it was from the game. It was from the game, but there was absolutely no context to explain why this particular zombie.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah. It was just there.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. I think they sort of flesh this out as more of a, we've got to escape, so let's throw as many things in. And you know, as you said, they threw out a lot of references to the movie a long time ago. But in number 4, we'll throw some more in that people might recognize. But I'm sure it was probably a stage by now where it was art imitating life imitating. Like they were making games based on the movies that were coming out. I don't know if that was a lot to do with what was happening at that time.
Not in the Resident Evil, not with Resident Evil. The Resident Evil game series pretty much kept doing its own thing. So
yeah.
And the movies kept doing their own thing.
Just its own movie
It was with tangential references and the occasional bit thrown in for the gamers. Oh dearie.
And let's the gamers might remember that there's no references to it.
Oh dear to me. Actually, one thing I'll just bring you to this now, because it's one thing that bugs me with most zombie things, because I think you have that intro and then it said like 4 years later, from when this one chick went and started biting people in Tokyo, or whatever it was. And it's like, okay, we know the zombies like to eat people. But what do they do once there's no one left to eat? I mean, how are all these zombies that apparently eaten everyone but these bunch of survivors in this prison in Hollywood? They're still very active and very energetic for zombies that apparently are desperate to eat this small handful of people. And they don't turn to each other, so it's like I never understood that about zombies. Yeah. I've never understood that about zombie things. It's like, well, no one ever explains how do they survive when there is nothing for them to eat, because surely they're just going to waste away. If they're already dead, they're just going to waste away and fall apart. You know, this.
Hey,
they're just going to be a pile of...
Trevor, zombies aren't supposed to exist, so suspend disbelief. But I understand your thinking.
Yep. Bugs me about all the zombie things. All of them. Okay, I got that off my chest.
No, but good point. Oh my god.
Yeah. But then, you know, when the action picks up again, it certainly does pick up. I mean, of course, they got the, you know, small group of people facing a horde of running zombies, and we get to see that Claire Alilata, when they're fighting the big axe zombie person. She can pull off some of the fancy wall jumpy, kicky things that Mila does. So you're probably quite right. They are quite similar.
Yeah, I always thought, and I'm like going, oh, what? Yeah, yeah. I'm not supposed to think that. Probably, I'm not supposed to compare people to other. Yeah, but yeah, I did get sort of. But I do remember thinking that when we've watched the previous movies as well. I don't know.
Yeah, they've got to give Claire stuff to do because again, she's actually an important, to appease the game fans because she's an important character in the series as a main protagonist. So you've
Yeah,
got to give.
and she's been a big part of the series because I remember her, so she must have been a big.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, but yeah, I mean, they had their dramatic escape because, of course, they do. Again, and when they get to this ship, it's this Arcadia ship. It's like it's completely empty and dead and quiet. I think they should have just turned around and just yeeted straight back out again because as they get further into it, it's obvious that it's owned by the evil corporation and is an obvious trap. But they just walk straight through those doors. You think they know by now? They don't seem to learn their lessons.
I know. It's trying to get you under its umbrella.
Oh boy.
But yes, but by this stage I was like, oh my god, finally something's happening, but something of worth.
Of Wentworth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's also I think we get our big bad guy come back, the Wesker guy, for the big Matrix style finale with lots of slow bullets and him dodging the bullets. It's like this isn't just inspired by the Matrix. This is directly ripped off the Matrix. But Wentworth and Ellie, Chris and Claire Redfield, they actually get to have a decent fight scene together against a bad guy, and it is pretty well done until they both get thrown in tubes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was thinking the same too. It was well done and very well choreographed. But yeah, until it happened at the end.
Yeah, and Mila had to save the day with her magic coin shooting gun. Like nothing else would kill any of the zombies, but she turns up with these guns that shoot coins, and it's just like, yep, she wins.
That's such a game. That's such a video game reference, though. I love it.
It is. It definitely is. So, I mean, they didn't really do much with them, but I did notice there was another thing that seems to be traditional with all the Resident Evil things, and they had the couple of zombie dogs hanging around. I do remember that they seem to have much.
Oh yes,
to do in previous movies, but this one
dogs last time.
yeah. But they didn't really seem to do too much this time around, and when they finally did it, when they finally did attack, they were pretty much taken out very quickly. So thinking, okay, well, they threw the zombie dogs in for tradition's sake, but aside from that, there really wasn't much point.
Hey, Trevor, we'll petition for them to have a spin-off movie one day, I think.
Yes. Zombie. Zombie dogs. and of course they win, and they free everybody who was in frozen on the ship or something for experiments. And I'm thinking, okay, so Arcadia is a safe place to be now, but the one thing I did see lacking on that ship was anything resembling food.
Oh, you don't know how many people have already been lost already. But yeah, I did actually think something similar.
Yep. I've gone blank. What was I going to reference? I was going to reference something just then. Oh yeah. I could make because I'm sure plenty of people died with the experiment, so I could make a Soylent Green reference, but Yeah, I may leave that one just there.
I have to watch that movie again. I haven't seen it for ages, but I know what you're talking about, Trevor.
Yes. Cool. And
I thought you were going to say a Titanic 2 reference. Yes, we've watched that. Sorry.
yes, we have watched Titanic too. Um, and it was actually, and I guess the final thing that I'll quickly mention was because we get to the credits, I see that's what soon after that is that we actually got a mid-credit scene. Ooh, teasing because they really left it pretty much. They really left it like, look what's happening. This is what you're going to see in the next movie. Didn't leave much doubt that there was going to be more
I haven't
coming.
looked at the sequels, Trevor. So how much long after? I know. I'm trying to think. Was it Redemption was the next one? 2013. I may be wrong.
I don't know if there's 6 or 7.
I don't know how long.
There's at least.
So yeah, they were definitely playing the next one. I've always been playing the next one.
Yeah, I think there's 2 more to go in this particular franchise.
Yeah.
Yep. So did you have anything else that jumped out?
Yeah, tell us whether you want us to review these again.
Oh, you totally know we're going to review this again. Was there anything that you thought jumped out at you throughout the?
Nothing else to add, Trevor.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing else to add unless I give away my redeeming features or what I think is good or bad. So I'll be quiet for now, even though you'll probably ask me soon.
Well, I'll probably ask you right now. We've finished chatting about the movie. We need to talk about if it's redeemable. So since I did choose this one, Christian, please let us know your thoughts.
No worries, Trevor. And yeah, okay. I did circle a couple of things. I didn't want to say it too much earlier, but that first review you read out, I believe it was the baseline, the 1-star review. And she pointed out what I've got written here is the sound. I loved the score or the soundtrack. Cinematography, great. Set design, great. Now, that doesn't really say too much about a movie, but I think I mentioned even earlier on about how it didn't necessarily work as a standalone movie, and that's always a big decider in a franchise. And I think being the 4th movie, it obviously was a segue from the 3rd to the 5th, but I just felt as a standalone movie, it just wasn't enough to sustain plot-wise a hour-and-a-half movie. Thankfully, Trevor, it was quite short, which is good, but Mila Djokovic, always gorgeous and kick-ass as always. And what have I got so much? Yeah. My notes, and I'm going to read them out. Cinematography was good. Can't say much about the rest. I'm going to read that. That was Christian of a couple of hours ago. So, yeah, Trevor, I'm going to put this down as irredeemable, unfortunately.
All right. So Christian has given us not redeemable. Ooh, no pressure on me. Okay. So
sorry, Trevor. That's what you get for giving me go first.
All good, all good. I think there's a delay that's causing a few issues, but that's all right. So this movie, I mean, yeah, definitely, it did have some style, and it was also a really dumb movie. It did have some very tacky 3D shots and stretches of not much happening, with a bit of cliche zombie flick stuff thrown in, and some stuff for fans of the game as well. When the action did start, though, it was enjoyable. Even though some of the set pieces got so over the top, I was literally laughing at at some of the stuff that was happening. The main players, Mila, Ali, Wentworth, they all did a serviceable job, except for Wesker. As I mentioned before, he was trying very hard to be a baddie from the Matrix, and the final battle directly ripped off the Matrix. But look, this movie has many, many faults. But I've got to admit, I really enjoyed watching this dumb movie. It was a fun, dumb movie. And you know what? I had a good enough time to push it just over that magic line, and I'm going to say it's
Oh,
redeemable.
really?
Yes, I had a great time.
Look at
I finished this movie.
look at it. Look at it. It's
Yeah.
oh, can
Yep.
I? Whoa, I wasn't expecting that, and I feel like a bastard for going the
It's
other
all good.
way. But it's good to
So,
have the other feedback. Oh, here we go.
yep, officially it's a split decision. For people on the live stream or Patreon,
Yes,
we
I
got a
finally got one.
tacky banner. Oh, good. So, there we go. There we go. So, we can't, we haven't come to a
Yes.
definitive answer as to whether or not it's redeemable. So, if you want to find that out, you're going to have to find that out for yourself. Woohoo! Now, now this is the redeeming feature. So,
Hey, a
and
big
we do.
decider, Trevor, is always the end of the year. At the end of the year movies so this being our first for the year, so you never know, this could end up being quite high up there. You never
It
know.
could. It could. But yeah, we do like to finish on a high point. So, regardless of our decision, we do like to finish with a 5-star review. And so I had a bit of a dig around,
We need it.
and this is where the editing is going to come handy because guess what? I did not copy and paste into my notes. Okay.
Oh, don't.
Christian,
Oh, shit. Don't look at me for the 5-star review.
Christian, stall
Trevor,
them
you
for
might
me
have
while
a
I
three and
quickly
a
do the thing.
half, but that's all right.
Oh.
Oh, in the meantime, I'll show our Patreons.
Oh, I can't
I
even
stand a
spell that.
certain way. If I'm Game Boy, I can. Oh, I think this needs to be brought out a little bit more. That side. There we go. Look at that.
Oh, magic.
I'm sure
Absolute
Trevor can
magic. Okay.
I do a bit more
Okay.
of a song and dance, but I think Trevor's almost got it.
I do. Don't think it's one I had before, but it's a handy one. So, um, so the title of this one is
I just found
Great.
one. Just saying.
I did. Yeah, it is. Oh, god damn this internet delay. Okay.
Trevor, would it help if I open it on my end?
All good. All good. Just shh for a second. So the title of this review is Great Fun. More tub thumping action from this never ending ultimate zombie thriller. The type of movie you can watch regularly. So full of fluff that you will forget the plot within a short while of watching it. But great nonetheless. No artistic merit at all, just sheer fantasy nonsense. 5 stars.
Oh, hey, they exist.
Yeah.
They had fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was similar to what I thought, I think, to be honest. I know it's a bad movie, but it was fun. But we should move on from Resident Evil Afterlife. Absolutely. People can think whatever they like, even if they're wrong. But we do need to move on. We do need to move on, Christian. So since I picked Resident Evil Afterlife, it's up to you to decide what we're going to try to redeem next.
Oh no, I hate this part. I feel like so much pressure. Look, I have a list or let's just say a Word document that I work on throughout the year. And I opened it recently and went, I've been hearing about this movie or let's just say TV show that it's based on quite a lot lately. So I thought, let's watch this. It's been on my to watch list for a while. So I remember when this came out. So we're going back to a movie from the 90s. It's a Disney movie, believe it or not, that was based on a hit 60s TV show. So we're going to the 1997 Christopher Lloyd movie, My Favorite Martian.
Ooh, okay.
Which apparently was fantastic by the reviews, but lost so much money that Disney disowned it straight away. So I thought, yeah, let's check this one out. So I think it might be worth a viewing.
Okay, so my favorite Martian, and I suppose the good thing there is it's a Disney movie, so we know it's available on Disney Plus. However, if anybody out
I
there
was going
who
to say, I
doesn't have
wonder where
Disney,
that's available on.
yes, but having a quick peek here, you can also rent or buy it on Amazon, Google Play, the Microsoft Store, and Apple TV. So, should be an easy one for people to watch if they would like to let us know their thoughts about the redeemability of my favorite Martian. And look, I'm actually a bit of a Christopher Lloyd fan, so this is going to be interesting.
Like, you got out easy this time around.
Excellent. Sorry for anyone watching the stream, by the way. This delay is obviously getting worse. This is why editing is so important in podcasts when you're recording over the net.
Like, wait, we've made it work. I've learnt now to wait for Trevor to.
All good, all good. So, I have now gone blank. I've gone blank. I've gone blank. Okay. So, Christian, you do things more than just record witty podcasts about dodgy movies. Do you have anything that you wish to discuss coming up in the foreseeable future?
Well, with everything up in the air at the moment, and no matter when you see this, always head to christianfletcher.com. We've got some watch parties that we do every Friday and Saturday night while people can't go out during COVID times. But if you watch this 30 years from now, I still recommend go to christianfletcher.com for all of my upcoming events, but there'll be more stuff happening soon. So we do a lot of 70s, 80s, and 90s themed parties online to sort of keep people going during this difficult time. But as I said, 10 years from now, still go to christianfletcher.com. There's no .com written down, but you get the idea.
I'll have to add that banner for next time.
Yeah, don't have to.
Okay,
it felt instinctive.
Fair enough. And of course, if you're interested in more of this awesome stuff, you can head to our homepage, rufusproject.com, where you can find all of our previous episodes, as well as the episodes of our sister podcast, What the History, that I do with my wife Susie. We'll be take a look at 2 bits of bizarre history. Every time we can. Sorry, we're not on a regular schedule at the moment.
Recommended.
Yeah. And of course, definitely consider signing up for the Rufus Project Presents on Patreon, where you will get to see live stream recordings of all our podcasts.
Yes.
You'll get early access to our new podcast episodes and a heap of bonus content. You get everything with the base tier, and if you choose to give us a bit extra, then we just love you a little bit more, and you become our favorites.
And you can see more of Trevor
and Christian. And
hey, dude, it took me a while to work that out.
It still throws me off. And now, if you do want to get in touch with us, you can find the Rufus Project Presents on Facebook as well. You can leave us comments on our webpage or our Patreon site. You can find our emails, and it's so easy to get in touch with us. Just get in touch with us. Say hi. Let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts about Resident Evil Apocalypse or My Favorite Martian, or if you've got any movies that you think we should redeem, then please let us know.
Please do. Cool. There's plenty out there, and I'm sure we've only touched the surface, even though we've done quite a lot.
It's a never-ending thing. This is like an eternal curse that we chose to do this. And on that pleasant note,
Yes.
thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us here on the
Thanks.
Rufus Project Presents Redeeming Features. And we will be back in the foreseeable future to see if we can redeem my favorite Martian. As always, thank you so much,
My
Christian. This
favorite
has been
Martian.
fun.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Always a pleasure. Even if the movies are terrible, the company isn't. So thank you, everyone. And thanks to Trevor. I was going to say thanks, Trevor. Thanks to everyone watching.
Awesome. And we will catch you next time. Farewell. Except for you people still hanging around and watching this live stream, you get a bit extra. Because if you were a paid Patreon person, then we'd come back and say, we thank you so much, Patreon subscribers, for supporting us in our shenanigans.
Yes, please do. And even if you just want to see the shirt again. Must over the shirt.
I should finish with my shirt. I've got a crossover
Trevor,
between Vader Zim and the Powerpuff Girls.
I was wondering, I saw that earlier, and I'm like, I was trying to work out, and I was like, should I ask him? Yes. That makes sense now.
Does it?
To quote our good friend Truly, you and Trevor always have the best shirts. And I'm like, I'll take that one.
Yes, indeed. Truly is awesome. So anything she says should definitely be accepted.
Definitely. I can't wait to do Rocky Horror again. It's been a while. I feel like we haven't done it since 1975 when it came out. But we might have to have a rehearsal. What's that, old Chester?
Yeah. So for a bit, because we're just chatting here, and anybody who watches can watch this at any time on our Patreon page. So Christian is behind Cards for Sorrow. Probably currently the longest lasting Rocky Horror performance cast in Australia, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we could say longest running now. Yeah, I think we can take that title. And now Trevor has been with Cards for Sorrow since we started back in 2000, which, believe it or not, Trevor, in July is like 22 years. Oh my God.
Good Lord.
So, and people said it was just going to be a phase.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who love Rocky Horror, and Trevor, as I've noticed in my time, there's not many people that don't like Rocky Horror. But if you like Rocky Horror, I definitely recommend going along to one of the interactive screens where we screen the movie with 15 people reenacting the whole thing in front of the screen. The whole thing, you know what I mean? The whole movie. Shouldn't say the whole thing. How disrespectful.
Yes, absolutely. You should be ashamed.
Yeah, Trevor, we wouldn't have it any other way. And I think we'll have people coming up to us in our 80s going, I think you guys need to stop doing the floor show. It's not good for your health.
Never. It's good cardio. Okay, so and of course, if you keep an eye on christianfletcher.com, you will know when we finally get to start doing it again.
Oh yes, hopefully in a few months. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
It will happen. Just keep a lookout on christianfletcher.com or go to Facebook Rocky Horror Brisbane, and we'll let you know. So
indeed. So I think on that jolly note, we might bring this long-winded stream to an end. Again, if you do support us on Patreon,
my phone's about to go dead, so that works.
Fair enough. If you do support us on Patreon, thank you so much for any support you give us. We love you very, very much. And I do promise to bring some more stuff to you as soon as possible. So, yeah. So to Patreons and those freeloading on this stream are made available for everyone. Bye.
See you guys. Thank you.